Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Samantha Mirabal with Melco's application team, and I'm here doing our DesignShop Talk today. I'm trying to get the platforms up to make sure they're both streaming correctly. Looks like Facebook is up. That's cool. Let me check YouTube, and then we will get going. So, hope everyone's having a good, there's YouTube, and mute it so we don't get feedback. DesignShop Talk today. I'm trying to get the mute. Cool. Yay. All right, it looks like they're both working. Awesome. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm going to start off with the questions that were sent in ahead of time. Good morning, Georgia. I'll start with the questions that were sent in ahead of time. And then there are very few. So if you have questions, please type them in. Is the volume too loud? There, that's probably better. Okay, so if you have questions, please type them in because I didn't get a whole lot sent in ahead of time. So I'll kind of try to go slow. So if you got questions, you can type them in. And short of that, let's see what we have. All right, so I need to add hoops to DesignShop. I've done it before on my old computer. I have two EMT10s that I'm using Win 7 to talk to them. I also have EMT16s. All right, so for your EMT10s, you need to stay on the Win 7 to be able to talk to them. So that computer is going to be the same. For your EMT16s or whatever soft computer you're using DesignShop on, you can upgrade it. DesignShop will work. DesignShop 9, it'll work on any of them. So that won't be an issue. So whether you're using the whatever computer you have now to win all the way up to Windows 11, that'll be fine. As far as how to do that, if you go to, let's see, Melco-service. I know of several ways to get to it. Let's see if it's this way first. Hoop database. Yeah. All right. So if you go to, just because I did that quick, if you go to the melco-service.com, if you haven't been to this FAQ section, it's pretty cool. So be sure to check it out. It gets updated with different articles and links and all kinds of good info for you. So update hoop database. And updating the hoop database. So this will show you how to do it. All right. So you can get the hoop database all nice and updated, so you'll have the latest one. We did get you a link to that article, so you don't have to go search for it like I did here, but just keep in mind that is an option for you to go check out that FAQ section. Question typed in, is there a way to find out how many total stitches have been stitched on a machine? Yes. As long as the main board hasn't been changed. So if you go to tools maintenance, that first screen will give you z-axis rotations. The z-axis rotations divided by 2 is your total stitch count for that machine. That's saved on the main board. So if you replace the main board, then it basically starts over for that particular main board. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, that'll give you the stitch count for the machine. So tools, it's in the machine OS. So, and we did get you a link to that to get you the total hours and stitch count. Okay, but that's where you find it. All right, how do you prevent excessive flagging while doing caps? So when doing caps, it really, flagging, I don't see it a lot when I run hats out here, but I've noticed it kind of depends on what hoop you're using. So if you're using the 270, the wide angle cap frame, so that's the one with the strap that goes all the way around, keys to that, that has the 3 clips on the red driver. It's got the 2 clips and the bottom clip. So the hoop itself is held nicely. So then it's a matter of how well you hoop that. So I know a lot of people tend to buy those pre-cut tiny little rectangles. With that hoop, let me see if I can find a picture of it real quick. Melco-service. Let's see. I just want a picture of the, that's not going to get me anywhere. Sorry, I'm looking for a picture of the hat hoop. Nope, I don't want to watch videos. All right. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find a picture for you. Melco. Oh, Shop Melco. There. Wide angle. There it is. I just wanted the picture of it to show you. So on this thing, you see these two little bars here? So when you're taking that 270, when you're sewing on it, if you're using the tiny little stabilizer, what you're going to see is it's not secured to anything. It's just floating there, right? So no matter how tight you hoop the hat, your stabilizer is kind of just, it's only secured along these teeth, right? So when using this hoop, getting the roll and cutting your stabilizer so it goes from bar all the way around to bar, and then you can use the little clips and clip the hat and the stabilizer to these bars. That secures everything nice and secure so that it can't move around. As you know, it helps stabilize it. So that is, you know, making sure you hoop tight, that your clip is tight. Remember, there are some wing nuts on this side of the hoop that if the strap is too loose, you can loosen those and tighten the stripe down and tighten it down. So you've got that as an option to tighten this strap itself. But then making sure you're using those clips. The hat hoop itself comes with those clips, so use them. I know I've been to many places that, you know, I go into the shop watching them do them, and they're not bothering with the clips. It helps. It secures it. It keeps the, stops it from moving around and helps get flagging. And remember, when you're hooping it, hoop it as tight to the gauge as possible. The other trick to flagging with using this hoop is make sure your presser foot's not too high. You know, too low is not good either. So make sure your presser foot is just right. It's like Goldilocks, right? If you're using the, what is that thing called now? The Gen 2. That thing only secures to the top two clips on your driver. So the hoop itself can bounce. I've hung stuff off of it, a weight, a clip off the front of the hoop, just to hold it down to stop it from bouncing. But I like the 270 personally. Okay, cool. Any other questions typed in that I missed? If not, I'll jump back over here. I think that we also have some good videos on hooping hats, so check that out. I got an issue at DesignShop. The property bar tool is missing icons. All right, so first off, the property bar tool, that is a toolbar that is only going to be visible when you have something selected. All right, so it's what I call a dynamic toolbar. So this bar right here, it's gray right now. That is actually the property toolbar. Notice there's not a single icon on that line. Now, if I come in here and I start typing, so text, when the text is selected, this bar is now full of stuff. If I deselect it, it goes away. If I have a single line center, notice what's visible here is different than what's visible when the text is there. So that toolbar is going to change based on what is selected. So this is a complex fill. It looks like that. This here, but if nothing is selected, it's not going to be there. So that toolbar is, like I said, I call it a dynamic toolbar. It changes based on what you have selected on the screen. But you're not going to see anything in it unless you click on a tool or you start using your digitizing. So when I start digitizing, you'll notice it changes based on what element I'm digitizing. Okay. What else did we have? How do I verify a design won't have gaps before embroidering? That is a little bit, you know, you can check it based on properties, right? So you can look at your properties and do kind of sanity checks there, but a lot of it comes down to experience, making sure because gaps in designs can be caused by a bunch of things, right? Some materials that are really, the texture of the fabric is bumpy, let's say, think performance wear. Those type of fabrics do better when you have a topper. Without the topper, it might look like there's gaps when there's really not. But that could also be adjusted by fixing the underlay. So using good design practices is going to be first and foremost. And then double checking your properties, right? So if you have no properties set for something, what I mean by that, if I go to the properties here and all these, the underlay is turned off, the tie stitches are turned off, things like that, it's not going to sew well, right? So you want to make sure you have underlay. If you don't know what underlay to use auto. Same with your top stitching. If you don't know what density is best for your application, you can use auto density. It works quite well. But this is what's going to decide how close the stitches are. So a lot of that is going to be personal preference and experience. All right, 4.0 is kind of a standard. I personally prefer a little bit lower. Anywhere from 3.5 to 3.8 is my happy spot. But some people are quite happy with 4. It's really, what do you sew out? What looks good to you? I've actually talked to folks who really only like it when it's 3 or less. I think that's overdoing it personally, but that's cool. If that's what looks great to you and your clients, go for it. All right. So, 3.5 to 3.7, 3.8, that's my happy spot on density. 4.0 is kind of the standard, what most people tend to use. I like the stitches a little closer together, which is why I decreased that number. But yeah, it's making sure you have, as far as gaps and stitching, make sure your densities are set right. Make sure you have underlay, and then you're hooping well, you have appropriate stabilizer, and you're using topper if appropriate. Your good digitizing and sew out practices are going to what you want to do. Can you give a brief overview between the DesignShop levels? I've seen the chart, but I don't know the jargon. All right, let me pull the chart because me and levels, Melco.com, it's on here somewhere. Let's see. Embroidery software. Come on. I don't think it likes me surfing while I'm live. Because I can tell you the jargon and show it to you, but I can't remember what's in each of the levels. Okay. Where's the complete list? That's not what I want. There. Detailed comparison. All right. So, lettering. Basically, you don't have digitizing, you just have lettering, right? So you're going to have the ability to create text and modify that, but creating these different shapes like I do here, you're not going to have. When you go to editor, you get to edit your wireframes and do some different effects, but fine. I don't believe. So you don't get any of the, where's the editor? There's editor. So you don't get all the auto, all right, so these are going to be your auto conversion features, which are these two tools right here. You're not going to have that in the editor version. Let's see, do you have digitizing? I'm going to change it. You guys can't do this, but I don't ever know which version has what. Okay. I gotta close that. No. Alright, so this is editor. Okay, so yeah, I can do basic digitizing, right? So I can create different shapes, start, stop, give it a stitch direction, but I don't have those auto features that come with the vector. right? So my auto digitizing, and there are some other ones. I don't believe you have decorative stitches, so you don't have decoratives. I'm a big fan of decorative stitches. If you ever see these design talks, I'm always showing that. So you're not going to have decorative. So some of the kind of nice and let you do some fancier digitizing, you're not going to have that with editor. When you go to vector, you'll be able to work with vector. Let's see, when you go to vector, yeah, so you'll be able to the auto generate walk stitches is kind of fun. So that will allow you to, when you digitize a bunch of stuff, if you don't want to pay attention to starts and stops, you can tell it to auto do it for you, and it will create walk stitches and kind of optimize the path of a color so that you don't have to go and digitize it all, point by point. And then, the professional, which is what I use, it has everything where you can break up objects, curves, distortion effects, your decorative library, and all those fun, neat little things that can kind of give your digitizing a nice flair to it. So let me go change the security. Security. Let me go change this to professional. Apply. Okay. Yeah, I know. All right. So let me restart it. Let's see. Is there a difference between DesignShop 10 and 11? Not that I'm aware of. I know we've done some videos that show some of the new features for 11. So I know there's a video at least that was done on that. I'm not sure that there's an actual page like this one. So if whoever at Melco is helping me today, if there is, can you link it? If not, I know we have a video on that. Okay, so we'll try to get that link for you. But really the difference, going to pro, you get all those neat little flares, the decoratives, and basically anything I show you'll be able to do in professional, in the pro feature. Not a design talk question, but how do you handle maintenance on your banks of machines? All right. So I have 15 machines here, and I tend to do the maintenance on my own without doing the step through and then resetting the timers. Okay. So what do I mean by that? Like if I'm running a bunch of stuff, I'll pick a day. Go away. I'll pick a day. Usually it's a Friday because I'm not doing a whole lot of sewing on Fridays. And I'll say, all right, these machines, I'm going to do all my 2 million stitch count maintenance. And then I run through all the maintenance. I know them all by memory, but if you don't, you can step through one of them and then do the same thing to all the other machines. So while one is kind of showing you what to do, you manually advance the machine to the next step for all the other ones you're doing at the same time. So I'll tend to walk down a row, do all the needle bars, down all 15, 5 machines. Then I'll do all the reciprocators on 5 machines. And, I'll go through each step for the 2 million stitch count maintenance. And then when I'm done, I go to tools, settings, timers, and reset the 2 million stitch count timer for each of those machines. Okay. But that's how I do it. I'll just, if I want to, the folks who help me, they'll walk through the timers without, doing it by memory like I do. So they'll have one machine up, they step through it, and they'll do the maintenance on the other machines, just advancing it manually with the keypad. Okay, does that, Katiana, is that what you're asking? I mean, that's how I do it. Oh, I've seen a guy running Melco Bravos wireless, so I've not tried that personally. I do know that there are Ethernet adapters. It's not actually, the Ethernet adapter itself is set up as 2 pieces to be wireless, so that as far as the computer is concerned, it looks like one adapter. So it basically is removing the cable, but from the computer side, it looks like just a single adapter. So I don't know that equipment. I haven't used it. I haven't tried it. I know it exists because I've asked my husband about it. He's a computer guy. And he goes, oh yeah, that's there, but I don't know what it's called. So I'm a little bit uneducated on that for you. I can ask him for I'll look into that for you, because I know if people are looking into how to make them wireless, but it's literally an Ethernet adapter that is set up as 2 pieces. Okay. Let's see what else. I lost my properties menu and don't know how to get it back. Okay. So are you talking about this thing or this? So if you're talking about the tree over here, so if you get rid of that, go to View, Project Views, and then it's a project view is what that thing's called. Okay, so View, Project View, turn it on and off there. View, Project View, there. Okay, if you close any of these toolbars, I have them monstrous, sorry. There, so if you close any of those toolbars, you can go to View, Toolbars, turn it back on. Okay, so if it's toolbars that you're looking for, then it's under toolbars. If it's this thing over here, that's called the project view. Yeah, change stitch type is this guy right here. That is a pro feature. So all right, that's not a good example. Well, let me draw a box. All right, so let's say I want to take that box that's a fill, and I don't want to digitize it again. I just want to change that from a rectangle that's filled to an outline. So I can click on this guy, say change that to a single line center, and replace it. So yes, that is a pro feature. And I think it's only available in Pro. I would have to close this to confirm that. Let's see if it's in Vector. I don't think it is in Vector. Sorry, the only way, since I cannot ever remember what belongs to what software, I always have to change my versions. Yeah, so I was right. It's only, the change. So if I wanted to take this and make a rectangle again, I would have to go and draw another one. Because the change from one type to another is a pro feature. Okay. All right. Can I show what change stitch type means? Yeah. So I did it once, but let me change the security so I get it back. Yeah. I know. Go away. Can I show the fancy stitches they have? Oh yeah, there's a ton of them. All right, so let's look at change stitch type again. So have this, you can use it using that button where you can say change it to a single line, replace, or let's say you want that, but you also want it to have a fill. You can say complex fill, add. So now it's a fill with an outline. Let's say you want to change this to be a decorative fill, because that was one of the questions, John, you had, is, what fancy stitches? Well, I can tell it to be a decorative fill. And there's a ton of decoratives in here, and you can create your own. So let's see, there's scales. That's kind of cool. The bubble one is fun. I mean, there's a ton of them. Low poly, that one's kind of interesting. Where's the bubbles? Bubbles. Pebbles. I like pebbles. That one's neat. All right, I said bubbles. Now I want to show you bubbles. Not that one, the other one. Okay, so there's a whole lot of decoratives you have that you can apply as a fill type, or those are also things that you can apply to just walks. So let's say I want to do beans. Okay, so I can do beans, or I can do the beads, or barbed wire. There's a ton of these things, and they're so much fun. You can create your own. So I created this horsey one. Where's my horsey? I like the horse. Stop it. All right, let me zoom out a little bit because the horse is really big. So you can create your own. This is a horse decorative that I did. Okay, so by creating each decorative yourself, you can be, whatever you can dream up. You can turn into some form of stitch. It's a lot of fun. What other ones? So what else can you do with those? That not only can you use decoratives, so you also have the ability to, let me turn this into 3D and zoom in. And if I go into the properties, there are presets down here for the different types of fills. Okay, so you can do different kind of twill type looks and things like that. So you can do different presets on the fills. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of options. Kind of what can you imagine you can do? You can also come through and create holes in this. So that was another question that we actually have, is how do you add holes? So I can add holes to this to have cutouts. I can modify that. Then I can take the fill itself and turn it into a decorative with some stippling. You can do a lot of cool stuff. And those are all pro features. Okay, so John, does that help any? Okay. Let's see. I want to digitize a ball with holes. Do I need underlay? I would like to have a very light design, see-through stitches to the fabric, ball shape, radial out. Sure. So, where's DesignShop? There's DesignShop. I'm gonna just close this and start a new file. All right, so I'm gonna draw a circle. Hold my shift. All right, I did that quick. Let's do it again. I'm gonna do a complex, select complex, click on the circle tool, left click, hold the shift key to lock it to a perfect circle, and then I click somewhere on the screen. All right, so now I have a circle. All right, you have under effects, you've got this distortion effect. You can say radial out, and that looks better with light stitching, which you said you wanted anyway, so let's make that like 10. That's kind of cool. And I'm going to turn off the underlay for the moment. And let's make that density bigger so you can see it a little clearer. Hey, check that out. That's pretty cool. Okay, so I've got a radial out circle. Now I want to add holes to it, so I can, when you're adding holes, you select the element you want to add a hole to. Then you say insert hole, and I'm going to do a perfect circle. Left click, click. And you can see I might have to play with my starts and stops or add different holes, things like that. So, or maybe I want to do a wave pattern through here. But, or you can do trapunto. Let's do that. Apply. There, we'll do trapunto. That'll clean it up. All right, so I added that. Let's add there. All right, so I added that guy. Let's say you want to trace that border. You can also trace it to kind of clean up those edges so it looks nice and crisp. If you want, you draw whatever you want. So let's say I want to put a triangle. Okay, so you can add whatever holes on there. What else? What other options do we have? What was your question? Oh, your question was, do you need underlay? It depends, right? So if you're doing a real open fill like this, no, it's going to mess up your design look anyway, right? So make sure you have a good tie in and tie out, but this is kind of like an underlay as it is. So no, you don't need an underlay for this. If you're doing a complete fill, something like that, and in that case, I wouldn't want that radial. So under effects, I'm going to go turn that off because no need for that. So in that case, yes, you'd want an underlay because it's a big fill and the fabric's going to move around. So you want that underlay to hold everything nice and still. All right. Question typed in, how long did it take for you to feel confident in digitizing for most projects? Goodness. Well, I'll tell you, when I got started, I have to laugh. So when DesignShop, the first version of DesignShop that I got, properties were, when you installed it, the properties were defaulted to everything being off. Which, what makes a project so well is making sure you have good, it was like this, all off. So that's not good. You need underlay, you need tie-in and tie-outs. All these were off. So when I first got started on my first version of DesignShop, I, typed some lettering, clicked through some stuff, basically hammered through. It looked beautiful on a screen. I was very proud of myself. It took me hours to make one design. And I didn't watch any tutorials. I just basically brute forced it, clicking on buttons until it looked good on the screen. And then I went and sewed the design and had a meltdown. Because I wasn't doing any of the good practices. I had no underlay, no tie-in and tie-outs, no pull compensation. Everything was line to line, so I had gaps in the sewing. My densities were awful. It was pretty silly. But every project is a learning opportunity, right? So had I not done that, I would not have gone, what on earth? Why are there gaps? Oh, that's pull compensation. Oh, why are there gaps between line to line things? I need a little overlap. Why is the embroidery washing out? Oh, there were no lock stitches, tying it into the fabric to make sure it doesn't come out. So, why is the registration off? I have no underlay. Things are moving. I hooped really poorly. So all of those are learning opportunities. So while I had about a meltdown over spending hours on one silly project and sewing it out to awful, I learned a lot on that one project. I'll say it was a simple little butterfly with some text. I went back and redid it probably a year after I had started digitizing. And the first time I did it, brute forcing it, watching no videos, just, I'm going to figure this stuff out. And it was probably 5 hours to do a simple little thing. Yeah, after having watched some things and doing it for a little bit, I did the same file in less than 5 minutes and it sewed perfectly. So it is a learning process. I still learn stuff. I'll sew something out, make tweaks. I will talk to other digitizers or talk to Scott and Nate, and they'll go, oh, just do it this way. And I'll be like, why didn't I think of that? Or, wow, that's way easier than what I've been doing for years now. So it's continual learning, right? You'll always find things. Not only that, your style is going to change. Now, your original question was, how long did it take? If you watch the videos, so if you look at the resources and do the basic training videos, do all the editing ones, and then the intro to digitizing, that will give you a good basis of how to edit wireframes, how to understand what the properties are doing, and how to use these buttons. Then, a technique that I used for a little bit is, while I was learning, I would send out a design to be digitized. When I got it back, if it sewed beautifully and I was going, wow, that was awesome, well, then I would take the time to go back and redigitize it, looking at how it sewed, what sort of things they did in the design to make it sew well. Yes, it was kind of a waste of time, but that way I could see how what someone did correlated how I could recreate it, what was the point of that? Just to learn the tool, right? So those are all different things I personally did to kind of get better at it. But learning to click the buttons, you can learn that in a week or two. And then it's thinking through it and running projects and learning as you go. So I'll say from brute force to when I felt like I wasn't a fool was probably a month or two. And then after that, I got better and better as I was doing stuff. But I really enjoyed taking something that sewed really well and recreating it. It took longer, and I wasn't actually using it for the client. It was mainly just as a learning exercise for myself. So, all right, what other questions y'all have? Where's my PowerPoint? There it is. Okay, did I do all this? Yes, I did that. Cool. All right, any other questions? Because that is all the questions I had sent in ahead of time. I do know I tend to click fast. If I ever am clicking too fast or forget to say something, just let me know. I try to remind myself when I'm going, like you saw me before, closing stuff and redoing it. Because I'm like, click, click, click. Oh yeah, I didn't tell you what I was actually clicking on. So, what other questions might you have before we call it a day? I know I'm just going to waste time for a few minutes. Just see if there's any other questions typed in. We got one typed in. My customer wants patches that resemble, I don't know what serape blanket is. I don't know what that is, to be able to help you. Let me quick Google. Serape blanket. Oh, stripes. Okay. Let's see. All right, just so you can see what I looked at. I just Googled striped blanket because I don't know what that is. All right, so like, that's cool. All right, so let's look at it. My customer wants patches that resemble that blanket. All right, what I would suggest is, first off, I would digitize this all in one direction. 90? No, 0. Yeah. All right, I would digitize them in one direction, different stripes of different lengths, and I get teased for how I do this. Copy paste. Oh, what am I doing? I'm doing Control C, Control V. Control C, Control V, mirror, and now I'm moving. Wait, it's a little more random than that though, right? Yeah, so between here, there might be copy paste. Let's make another smaller one in there. Copy paste, move that over, put that over there. All right, I'm eyeballing stuff, you can tell. And it's not very pretty, I'm sorry. I want it to be pretty. This is what happens when I do things fast. What colors are these things? Ooh, gradients of blue, I can do that. Blue, let's do that one. Darker, maybe this white. I don't know. All right. Anyway, what I would suggest doing is this. And when you'll notice these things, some of them tend to be blended, right? So they might have blends along there. So what you can do for that is on the overlapped areas, like if I copy paste and put this there and put that on top, and then I go into properties and tell it to be in effect, custom density, linear, apply, and then give it a different color with no underlay. All right. So what do I got going here? Since I've done a lot of stuff at the moment. I'm going to move this over so you can see it a little bit better. So what you can do with these is you can use this to help get you that blend across it to make it look more like that woven pattern, right? So you can, then it becomes making sure you're picking appropriate colors for the blend. So, oh my gosh, go away. But yeah, that's what I would do is I would just, create the size you want, create your stripes in whatever random patterns you want. If you want to add different blends across there, you would just put a fill, go to your effects, say custom density, and, play with it until you get it to look. Remember, you can reverse it. So if it's too dense on one side and you want it to feather out into the larger area, you can do that too. So that'll kind of bring that color up in there. If you don't like these little angled points, remember that's done by using the trapunto. You can turn on trapunto and they'll go straight to the edges. But that's what I would do is set the size you want, and then from here you can then create your borders and other things like that. So Croitsta Romero, I'm sorry I butchered your name, I apologize. But I mean, that's what I would suggest is, create the general design, giving it the colors you want, then add blends across the areas if needed. If you don't want just a really rigid stripe, you want to get that more blended look, go through there. And yeah, color selection is going to be key though. So as far as creating of the patch, we've got lots of patch videos. Oh, that is not how you do it. So you're going to have your placement, copy, paste. If you're going to do it as an applique, so that puts the fabric down, that cuts it, copy, Control C, Control V. I usually give it a different color. The shortcut for change element type is Control click. That changes it to this. And then I can make it a tackle stitch for my tack down, and then copy paste, make that my satin stitch. And we'll make that wider, 40. So I can take that thing, put it here, and, have a border on the patch. Okay. What other questions? Let's see if I missed any others. Yeah, the Mexican multicolor scheme. That's how I would do it. 3D puff insert. Okay, Chris is fine. Awesome. How could we fix a problem with 3D puff in certain spots my digitizer sends? It won't catch the bobbin. Look at the tie-in stitch type. So if it's right at the start of it, you can change the tie-in stitch or add a walk stitch before that starts, so that you can walk into it a little bit better, or put the little X style 5 tie-in stitch. Meaning, so if let's just say this isn't catching right here, so I can go into that element and go change the tie-in to be a style 5, which is a more aggressive knot, so that it locks the stitches in and it can catch a little bit better. So that would be my suggestion, is either add that. If it's an expanded stitch type, then you can add a walk, or you can add a manual knot ahead of it so that it starts off a little bit differently. So it might just be the type of tie-in stitch that your digitizer uses that it's having issues with. Okay. All right. Cruz, did this help you at least get a direction on the multicolor scheme? Hopefully it did. All right. Let's see. Did I miss any others? Nope. All right. Well, I hope these talks are helpful for y'all. We try to do them weekly. Next week I'm aiming for Friday. And tomorrow I got to go set up for a regatta. And Saturday I'm going to be dock master at a regatta, so that's a lot of fun. It's the district finals for our high schools and our middle schoolers, so it's always exciting watching kids carry really heavy boats around. It's pretty fun. Any recommendations on digitizers? If you take a look at the FAQ, we do have a list of digitizers there. So that would be a good starting point to check out. So I would look at that. It's on the melco-service.com under the FAQ. Look up digitizers and it's right there. We'll see if we can get you a link as well. All right, y'all. Have a fantastic weekend, and I will be back next week. Third-party digitizers, we got you a link there. All right, guys. Have a great weekend.